So what I'm pointing to is the truth of who you are, who you really are, as life itself. Not who you think you are, not the story that you tell yourself or others, but who you've always been and always will be, that is timeless, that isn't located inside a body. It doesn't belong to me or to you. It's not an it, actually. It's not an object that we can really talk about. We do our best. But it's easier to say what it's not than to actually describe what it is. Because as soon as we put words to it, somehow it's limited. It seems to be limited. Words make it sound like it's this and not all the rest. But in fact, who you really are, life itself, freedom itself, love itself, wholeness, peace, oneness, all of that, all those beautiful words, it just can't be contained in one word or even one whole sentence. It's unlimited freedom, unlimited intelligence, unconditional, unlimited love. And the problem for seekers on the spiritual path is that we're usually trying to get it, or to become it, or do it. And all of that trying, all of that effort, only seems to reinforce the idea that you are not already that there is something wrong with you that needs to be fixed, some effort that you need to make in order to become that. So I'm encouraging you to recognize this for yourself, rather than to try to become it. In other words, know it without doubt. Even if thought might come up with doubts, it can still be known without doubt. When you don't take these thoughts so seriously, then they're free even to doubt. But when you know the truth of who you really are, you don't take thought so seriously, because you can see that thought is just playing its game, doing what is natural for thought. Imagine problems and stories and dramas. But who you really are isn't touched by that, isn't limited by that in any way. And it's only thought that says, there's some problem, there's something missing, there's something wrong with me. And then it's thought that says, okay, I can help, I can solve this problem by suggesting that we do this or that, or study this or that, or practice this or that technique. And thought is innocent, it's just trying to be helpful. Thought doesn't know the truth, that who you are is already everything that thought is trying to become. But it can't be known by thought. It can't be got. It can't be understood by thought. It can't be achieved by thought. So for thought, it's only frustrating, because you try to get it and you fail. You try to become it And maybe you seem to get a little more peaceful in your experience, but then things change again. Something happens in your life that causes some drama, and then again things are not so peaceful. Ups and downs of life, natural human experiences. And thought comes to the conclusion that, I've lost it again. I need to try again to get it. And the search goes on, endlessly like that. Trying to get it and failing. But perhaps it comes to a certain point on the search where you get truly exhausted with all this trying and failing, with having temporary experiences of arriving only to discover after some time that it's changed again. After a while it just gets so painful to live like that, and utterly exhausting to keep making that effort and to keep believing that there's something wrong with you. But it can seem so radical to really acknowledge that who you are is already absolutely enough as it is right now. I mean, it sounds so obvious and simple, but to really acknowledge that can seem so difficult when we've been so conditioned to believe that I'm someone with a problem. When we get together with our friends, we're often sharing problems, talking about how hard life is, or even if it's just how we prefer the weather to be different. Somehow there's always a problem.
It's England.
Yes, especially in England or Holland. Yeah. There's always got to be something wrong with the way it is. It seems so normal to have a problem or to be on a mission to endlessly try to fix yourself. And that to actually acknowledge that you are enough as you are, and in fact always have been, can seem almost arrogant when everyone else around you is trying to fix some problem. It can seem, well, I'm not like super perfect and super enlightened or something. How can I admit that my actual experience, the way it actually is enough as it is? Surely there must be something to fix, something to be busy with. And of course, the thinking will love to have a problem to be busy with. You give it any kind of food like that, it will love to chew on it for ages. And actually to admit that there's no problem, that everything is okay just as it is, means that thought is out of a job. It doesn't have any problem to be busy with. It can feel a bit frustrating or agitating even to have nothing to be busy with. No problem. Often then we come to a point where we have to actually just feel that restlessness. Like, what do I do now if I've got nothing to fix? If everything's just okay as it is, then what? Well, maybe we can just have fun and enjoy life, right? Isn't that enough? I mean, actually, this message is so obvious, it's so simple, but strangely enough, it gets overlooked in our ordinary lives. We're so used to believing thought, We've been conditioned since we've been young children to believe that I am someone. First of all, I am someone. Just that belief, even before the belief of I'm someone with a problem, but just I'm someone. I'm someone who lives a life in time, with a beginning when I was born, and then a middle part, and then an end. One day I'm going to die. That belief in time, in the timeline of my life, and where I'm going, and what I need to achieve in that time. Already that can cause some stress. The question is who? Who is this someone? Who are you? Really? You're not just the usual story, but really, really. I know that when I ever asked myself that, I never knew the answer. I could never find anyone in here. So when I was a child, when someone used to ask, what's your favourite colour? Well, okay, I check in here. First of all, who can have a favourite colour? Can I find someone who can have a favourite colour? And then maybe if I find that someone, then I'll have to find whose favourite colour they have. But actually, I never find anyone. So then I never can have a favourite colour. Because who? So I used to just say blue because my mother's favourite colour was blue. It's just, okay, I know it. I know that works. We pick up survival mechanisms as we grow up. There's ways of kind of getting people off your back. It's a bit stressful when someone asks you what's your favourite colour. You've got to have the answer. You've got to know who you are. And that's just a very simple example, of course, in our adult life. People are always asking us, tell me about yourself. What do you do? Where do you come from? What are your interests? Suddenly you've got to be someone. You've got to know things. You've got to remember the story. It doesn't seem to be okay in our society to actually say, I don't know. I don't find anyone. When we say I don't know, it's usually assumed to be a problem. You're supposed to know. If you don't know, then you should try to know. You should fill the gap with some kind of story or knowing. And what does it mean about you if you don't know? Does it make you stupid? Does it mean that there's something wrong with you? The truth is that no one knows. Just some people are really good at pretending. And we all learn how to pretend to a certain extent. Even just to have regular conversations, getting on a bus or going to a shop. You've got to know how to play the game. How to survive in this world. As if we are someone's. And the game goes on. But when you can start to see for yourself that the whole thing is a game, it's just a joke really, that you're watching yourself play this game. You're watching yourself be someone, pretend to be someone. And you've always been watching yourself. That watching, that in fact is what I'm calling who you really are, life itself. that one that has been watching the whole game, always. That isn't touched by anything that happens. Even if this person seems to be upset or really in ecstasy, this watching, this seeing, doesn't change. It just sees. It doesn't need the experience to be better. It doesn't need anything to be fixed. It just sees it. It's always seen everything. It's seen this person grow up. And that seeing hasn't changed, hasn't grown up. And we all have a sense of that. You ask anybody if they really feel their age. For a moment, before logic comes in to answer the question, we don't even know how old we are. And what does it even mean, a number? That's not who you really are. You know how to say the number in order to survive in the world, to make sense and to be logical, so that you don't sound stupid. But it's about getting the joke for yourself. Knowing the truth for yourself, even if you have to go on pretending and playing the game. When you know the truth for yourself, then you can see that even when it's sometimes serious, it's still a game. You're just pretending to be serious. You're playing as if you are someone living a life in time. And we long to really acknowledge this. I remember feeling for so long so alone with this sense of I'm just watching myself and I'm just pretending. And when it's truly acknowledged and pointed to, and we sit here together and we say it and we acknowledge it and we look into each other's eyes, and it's like a big yes to that you are. We love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah? There's such a deep relaxation in that. Because it's so rare that it gets directly acknowledged. We're usually so busy with all kinds of other things. And there's nothing wrong with being busy with all kinds of other things. That's the game. We go on playing the game. But to really consciously acknowledge our true nature, something kind of goes and sinks. And then even if you go on, you leave here afterwards and blah 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 and it all starts up again, no problem. Nothing is disturbed really. Who you really are is just watching the game. And of course, anytime you can alone consciously acknowledge this. Anytime, because it's always here. You don't need to, but you can. It doesn't need you to. It's just watching, it's just seeing anyway. But it seems to be something that we long for. We long to consciously live this, to acknowledge this, and then to live as that in our lives. And we don't know how. We don't know how to live, actually. And when we consciously acknowledge that we don't know how to live, there's so much freedom in that. We don't know how to live, and we don't need to know how to live. But we live anyway. and life goes on. It's amazing how life can go on very well without you knowing how to do it. But it can seem frightening at times, because thought wants to come in with some certainty, some conclusion about, this is how it is and this is how I should behave, this is what is expected of me, and if I don't do that, then I'm left with feeling the fear or that restlessness. I'm really feeling lost, not knowing how to behave in certain situations. And it's a big risk. It can sometimes seem like you risk death even. You risk not surviving in this play of life when you don't know how to be. But if you're willing to risk not surviving, to courageously stand naked without knowing how to be, without holding on to what you think and all the old conditioning, to stand in all that vulnerability, this is what you truly long for. That openness, that freedom, that love. It is that not knowing how to be. That's the living of this recognition. Living without knowing how to live. Responding now to life. And it doesn't mean that you don't think. There might well be thoughts, but thoughts don't disturb anything. Even if thoughts say, this is how you do it and that's what you should say. So thank you, thought. That's helpful, but I'll see what happens anyway. And you might find that sometimes you take up the advice of thought, because in some situations thought can be very helpful. It's very good at practical things. How to, be in the world. How to be logical. How to do your job. Remembering what someone might have told you and asking, how was it? It's very helpful. Like the social interactions. But thought is still limited, always limited. It cannot ever know really how to meet another. How to really acknowledge yourself in the other. It doesn't know. It will provide all kinds of suggestions, but it just doesn't know. And standing naked, absolutely vulnerable, without knowing how to meet, is the real meeting. Yourself. Not just in the other, but in every experience, every situation, every feeling, every sensation, every thought. It's just met as it is, without knowing what it means. Without it meaning anything about me. It's just what's here.